Welcome back to Bros and Boxers. I'm your host, Michael, joined once again by my host, Casey. Casey, how you doing?
Back in the saddle again, my friend. It is good to be back. I've missed you so dearly.
I missed you, and I gotta say, our viewers last week, they were missing you too.
All two of them?
All two of them. They were devastated to, I think what happened is people tuned in, they heard me say you weren't going to be there, and they just threw their computer right out the window.
Well, there is a reason for that, and we'll get to that after the ad break, so stick around, guys. That's right, cliffhanger, motherfucker. I'm sorry. Mother effer for the edit. we get one, right? I get one.
It's like an R-rated movie. I don't think you do.
Movie. I
don't think you do get one because
I get one.
Well, I don't know.
Please.
Anyway, I would say so, but I think that they'll mark it explicit, even if you don't. We have that one that we snuck in there that I left in there.
That is true. Kudos to anybody that can go back and find it and email us that they found it with the timestamp. I think I actually have a written log to Michael about when I found that. But in regards to those written logs, I was thinking that tonight, or I guess today, whatever you who's listening to this with your ear holes is listening to this at, that we go by Robert's Rules of Order. Old business, new business. So you start with the old business, you say your piece, and then go on to the new business. This will get us ready for when we have HOA. When we join the HOA together. Anyways.
When we join the board of directors for our...
Exactly.
For those of you who don't know, Casey and I are moving to the same neighborhood. So we've been talking about joining the HOA to... For a totally legitimate purposes. There's no.
No, we're gonna overthrow the board rules. Like whatever the CDDs started up to begin with, we're gonna go in there and we're just gonna abolish all of it and then rebuild our own rules.
We just
and
wipe
it'll be
out.
Just this terrible hellscape of tacky colors and I don't know, people riding ATVs around the neighborhood. I don't know.
Property values will just hit the floor.
Plummeting property values. It's gonna be terrible.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, starting with the old business.
Old business. So last week, our graceful, gracious host, Michael, hosted by himself. And I wanted to comment on a few things. So Google versus Reddit as a aggregation source for news. I wholeheartedly agree with using something to aggregate your news because how else are you going to sift through the mud and find something?
I mean, there's so many outlets now, too. It's just...
Number one, I don't think Reddit should be used for any sort of news.
Well, I think it's fine to be used as a link. I don't think the comments should be where you get your news or the headlines, but it's fine to see, an article posted and actually read the article and see what it's about.
Right,
but I think that it's dangerous to use
people?
I think it's dangerous to use any aggregator for news because of the fact that most people will probably just read the headline, I would assume. And I've been
exactly.
We both have talked about it before, being guilty of, I just caught the headline on that. So
and
I'm not going to act perfect on that.
And the amount of digging that I made you do to find me one news article directly from the source over the weekend here. But
that was great.
I have seen all the things you've seen about Cyberpunk, and I feel terrible that Cyberpunk was forced into releasing the game if they were by their shareholders, if that's the case. If not, I mean, you make what you can and you just get it out there. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in development hell for eons.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Like I said last week, it's, I'm bummed about it because we were looking forward to it for so long, but it seems inexcusable what's going on with the last generation consoles. Like I said last week, I think they should have just nixed it for the last gen. But what are you going to do?
What did you expect whenever you've got Roach on buildings in Witcher 3 and all the other Witcher games that have weird things in them on current gen and last gen platforms?
But games having glitches here and there are fine, but it's just these Cyberpunk glitches. Like I said, I mean, they're just beyond excusable.
They're pretty bad. Bad.
Frames dropping to the point where your game is basically frozen. Come on. There's no way they didn't catch that in playtesting.
One guy that I watch, he actually has a pistol you can get from like the training mission. Carry it through till you're about level 15 to 30. Thing is one-shotting people in the game.
Geez.
So I don't want to dwell too much on old stuff, so I just wanted to say those few little things. And I actually use Google for my news, and on Reddit, though, going back to why I brought this up, on Reddit I just use it for like my hobbies. So like keeping track of our vinyl for vinyl cutters, because long time ago I worked for a company where we sold vinyl cutters and vinyl cutter supplies and stuff. Like that's what I use that platform for. And then Google, it serves up news, but honestly I think Bing is what gives me the most news.
Yeah, I think that because of where we work, we have the MSN homepage. I think that is where so many times we've been next to each other and
Right.
like, oh, you see this? Because that's like the place that pops up in our face the most, because every new tab is MSN homepage.
It really is, and it's just like, why do I get sucked into this garbage? It really is terrible.
It shows how well it's working for them that we get sucked in so easily.
How are they making any money off of it? That's what I don't understand.
I don't know if the idea is to make money off of it, because is there ads on the MSN homepage?
Everything is about making money, and yes,
You know what?
there are
You know what it
ads.
is? Yeah, they have those promoted posts too. So yeah. They're definitely making plenty of money.
It's all about that. Hey, all right, so Mandalorian season finale.
Yes. Spoilers again for those who didn't catch last week. But I mean, come on, it's been a week. The spoilers?
Well, beyond that, I'm just gonna say that if you were a fan of that scene coming up, I was a little bit disappointed as to who they chose, because again,
You were disappointed with Luke Skywalker.
slightly.
Wow.
Not fully, because I was like, oh my god, it's him. Oh my god. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I do
Like,
know what you mean.
it's the
I would
next-
say disappointed. I would say that it would have been really cool to see, like, for instance,
Somebody else.
I'm playing Fallen Order right now. Main character is Cal Kestis. And I think that would have been so cool to see Cal show up there. But then again,
I
I would
would
have
have
a
been
lot
like,
of people
who?
being like, yeah, who is this guy? But maybe that would have been better. Maybe having a character where people say, who is this guy? But I think that here's what I think. Had Luke been a total just knockout cool guy Jedi master in the sequel
Right.
trilogy, then they wouldn't have had to do it. But I think they had to do it because of the way Luke was treated in the sequels. He's the hermit. He doesn't have very many cool scenes. He doesn't really get in any actual lightsaber fights, does he? He does the fake one with Kylo Ren. But
Well, and he's kind of at the end of his life, much like Yoda when he fades away, or Obi-Wan Kenobi when he fades away. Both
Right.
of those I mean, I guess with Yoda, he's just kind of hobbling around a swamp. But for Obi-Wan, he has an actual lightsaber fight with Darth Vader.
yes,
Before he
however
fades
slow
away.
it might be.
Whatever you want to say, man. Like,
No, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying
they've
that
gone back to Flash. I mean,
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I like it. I have there's a special spot in my heart for the original trilogy, despite any slow lightsaber fights. But it is kind of jarring to go from like episode 3 to episode 4 and be like, wait,
you shut your
They were
dirty
just
mouth.
doing
I grew up
backflips.
on those slow lightsaber fights. Like you're
You're only
swinging
like-
around a bastard sword or a claymore. It's just like, huh.
yeah. I mean, I think it's cool, and it shows a different fighting style than we had seen before. If you're going chronologically.
Right.
But anyway, not to spend the whole episode on Star Wars.
No,
I
we're
said
doing it
last
again.
week.
Rabbit hole.
I said last week there may be a moratorium on Star Wars, but evidently
God,
it is
no.
not.
Well, we don't have any more episodes, so
Exactly. But of course, I'm playing Fallen Order now.
That's the end
So
of it.
if you think I'm not going to be bringing that up,
no more Fallen Order. I think we're done.
Oh.
Yeah.
we'll put
I
a
think I
moratorium in
agree.
effect for at least the next episode. So if you're
Next
sick of the Star
episode,
Wars talk, next
Star
episode we'll
Wars.
have no Star Wars at least. Next episode, watch this week. There's going to be some massive Star
Yeah,
Wars news.
just
And we're
some
like,
big
oh, we have
Star
to talk
Wars
about it.
thing. Oh, there's a new Star Wars movie coming out. Son of a
They brought Mace back. He's having his own movie.
his own miniseries.
Oh, man.
So Christmas 2020. Well, this one was definitely interesting for me, but I'll save that for new business. The thing that got me more into the mood was definitely baking Christmas cookies, doing some of the holiday shopping, which, I didn't have to go out too much, but there were a few things that's like, you kind of have to go to the store so you can see it, and no matter how much
I know what you mean.
how much you take precautions and try to do all social distancing, nobody's following the rules. Not 100% anyways.
Yeah, there's
And
a group of people who are, and then there's a group of people who aren't
yeah,
at all.
and so I would definitely say that yes, you are a homebody, going back to the original reason we're talking about all this. You are a homebody, and the way to get into that Christmas spirit for something like a pandemic or where you're in a new place is to try to get those traditions and go back into them. Like, my mother would always bake Christmas cookies. She would always have people over to do that. I wasn't able to, but the girlfriend and I, we got together and we made Christmas cookies. And you know what? Even with gluten-free flour, those are some of the best dang cookies I've ever had.
You made gluten-free Christmas cookies, and you didn't say. Oh wait, never mind. We'll talk about that later.
But yes, you are a homebody, and for damn good reason. And we'll talk about that. The final thing that I have on my notes from that, which aside from it being well choreographed, constructed, the kudos. I'm clapping over here for you.
What are you about to say here, Casey? Do I need to shut down my recording? Is it going to become Bro and Boxer? Are we splitting up?
No. It's fine. It's just I don't know. You got like this weird cadence thing when you're not around me. I don't know what it is.
Well, you know what? You know what? I noticed last week that when I'm going solo, I start talking really fast. I kept having to stop myself for a second and be like, all right,
like a rambler.
Yeah, like I think it's just because it's like a, like the diarrhea of the mouth, where you just like you just let it all out basically. So I was just like going and going and going and like I don't know, I just didn't stop, and I think it's because I didn't want there to be much dead air too. Like I didn't want people just sitting there.
It's the hardest thing to try to record yourself doing something, and that's what's always been the preventive measure of me doing YouTube. Yeah,
right.
I've got my channel. I've got a video on there that's public. I think it's me carving a pumpkin, and you see my foot flicking back and forth like a cat's tail. It's like, what the heck's going on there? It's like my nervous tick when I'm trying to focus. But I think you did fantastic, and I'm really glad you were able to do that. I'm sorry nobody would step up and co-host with you, but
it is no problem.
I'm back, baby.
We're going to have some guest hosts here in the future. I actually did have a couple of people who were willing to guest host, but I wanted to save it for this year. So we're going to have some guest hosts coming up, and hopefully that'll be exciting for everybody.
Anybody famous?
Hear some other voices. Yeah, super famous. We're going to have
really?
Donald
Kylo
Trump.
Ren?
No, we're not having. It's just going to be people
Mays?
local for now. If anybody out there wants to, if you're interested in being on the show, go ahead and send us an email at theboys@brosandboxers.com. We're willing to take almost anybody.
So I'm looking at my bank account here, and I'm noticing that I've got just a little bit more money than what I had before.
Perhaps you got a stimulus, and perfect segue into into the last item on the old business.
I thought that we were getting $2,000, and here I've got $600 in my thing. No, I'm not turning my nose up. I mean, it's money that I could use to definitely pay down some bills. But
right,
what happened?
It's a bit of a, I don't know. Last week I discussed the omnibus bills. I didn't go into detail on this particular bill that had the stimulus checks in it, but I discussed how I thought it was just a poor premise all around to have these bills where you can just tack on a bunch of stuff.
It really is, and it's kind of against what everybody that I see in the comments section of Reddit is saying in regards to the way the government's being run. And I'm hoping that this is an eye-opening event for people that...
Well, just to give some clarification, when you said what happened. So here's what happened, and it's a really weird situation because for once it's not just pure Dems versus Republicans. You know what I mean? It was mixed. So we had the call for the $2,000 stimulus checks. The Dems have been calling for higher stimulus since I think it was back in April. They wanted to pass something else, and then Trump actually has been calling for higher stimulus checks too. But the Senate majority is Republican, and the Senate Majority Leader, in particular, Mitch McConnell, has been saying, basically that they didn't want to do that. But then, so they passed the omnibus.
Senate.
They passed the omnibus bill, and then Trump says, "I'm going to veto this. There isn't,
Right.
these stimulus checks aren't high enough." Well, he sits on the bill for a little bit and ends up signing it anyway, saying, "I'm going to send back some items that I think need to be changed, but I'm signing it," which is weird because it's like, well, you just signed it. They're not going to change anything.
Yeah, you're signing it. Who cares what you want? And
Yeah. So anyway, he signs it, but then he's still calling for the $2,000, and at the same time, he vetoes another bill, separate bill for defense spending. So the Senate, so the House, they pass a measure, and they actually have pretty fair bipartisan support. I think it was like 67% total of the House voted to pass this measure to vote for increasing the stimulus checks to $2,000.
Okay.
So this would have just been an additional payment of $1,400 on top of the $600. That's how it would have
Right.
been handled, really, because it wouldn't have passed in time, I don't think. Anyway, so it passes the House, and they send it to the Senate. Well, Mitch McConnell says, "I'm not going to bring this to the floor for a vote," and he is the majority leader, so he can decide to just graveyard bills, which he is known well to do. That he just graveyards bills that he
Right.
doesn't want to bring. And it's an interesting situation because you have some Republican senators saying that they're supporting, like Lindsey Graham. I'm no fan, but he apparently was urging McConnell to bring it to the floor for a vote. And then Trump is very vocally saying, let's bring this to the floor for a vote. And Bernie Sanders was filibustering they were back to that defense bill that Trump vetoed. He was filibustering a vote to override the veto in exchange for doing this $2,000 vote first. So it's a really weird situation because it basically all comes down to one guy saying, I'm not going to do this.
The filibuster is one of those things that I've always hated as well, where you can just get up there and just start reading Shakespeare for your time. And until you stop reading Shakespeare, your time continues.
But I could be wrong, but didn't they change the way the filibuster works? Like they don't have to speak the whole time, right?
But no, they
can't.
No, I think you have to speak the whole time. Otherwise, what's the point?
I want somebody to look into this, and I'll look into it if we don't hear any mail in the next couple of days. But
the only bit of Robert's Rules of Order I remember is that old business comes first and new business comes second.
Which we've already done a bad job of because now we're full-blown new business already. But it's sort of a segue from the omnibus.
I think we're definitely on old business. But anyways, that concludes my recap of last week. And where are we at now? I think we're at few minutes here. 18 minutes. Oh dang.
Dang. Well, that's perfect time for an ad break. So we're going to take a quick second here to just hear from one of our lovely sponsors.
Thrilling sponsors.
Please stick around past the ad. Promise to make it worth your time.
Maybe.
And we're back. Thank you very much.
We survived.
I know nobody likes ads, but they do keep the platform running, and they they help us maintain the site and all of our many expenses. I know Casey has a solid gold Miata that we funded with the podcast, so definitely appreciate you listening.
Solely on the 5 episodes and the 2 listeners that we have. Thank you guys.
Casey, you're belittling our base. Our statistics say we have 9 listeners.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Which platform? On YouTube?
This is actually across all platforms except for YouTube. So I actually appreciate it. And I just want to shout out to our listeners outside of the U.S.
because you and I listen to them.
Yes, but I just want to give a big shout out. We have a couple listeners out there in Canada, up in the north. We've got a couple listeners overseas in the UK. So I just want to give a big thank you to our listeners out there.
Or if you're using a VPN, thank you. VPN users can be anywhere in the world.
This episode not sponsored by any VPN. Well, that I know of, actually. It might be.
Not sponsored by Nord or Tunnel Bear. Or
Anyway. Moving on to our next topic here. Something, we mentioned this briefly in the beginning of the show, but you and I are both currently in the process of purchasing a house. This would be your second home. My first home.
Within less than a year, mind you.
Yours is a very interesting situation. Mine's pretty cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Wife and I are building the first home. together. We've been renting for years, and we just feel like it's time to build a house. We're comfortable enough to where we feel like we can, afford the payment to get it started, and we just want to be kind of settled. We're sick of moving because with renting right now, it's like
It's
every year we
worse.
have to move to keep the price down. So,
Well, you don't
but your
have to
situation,
move.
why don't you shed some light?
Well, yeah, I got, a fun little surprise at the beginning of 2020 where my girlfriend decided to kick me out of the house. I'm joking. She broke up and we split out of the rental
Ex-girlfriend.
agreement. Yeah, the ex-girlfriend. And the current girlfriend and I have decided to move in together, and it's a big step, but I do not want to rent. I hate that you don't have any control over the property. You can't choose paint, can't choose whatever you want to do in there. And then, like you said, you got to move every so often to keep the rent down. And
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, because at least with all the rental companies we've dealt with,
right.
they jack up the rent every year, even if you don't move. So it's for
You
us,
have
it's
to
smarter
raise
to
it.
just keep moving. And you know what? Here's one of the things that really bugs me about renting. Like you said, you have no
Right.
control, and people say, oh, when you buy a house, you better be ready because if your AC breaks or your fridge breaks or something, you got to be prepared to pay for that. And yes,
Right.
that is a big thing to be prepared for. But I'm going to say this. I have been in a house, multiple houses, where the AC is gone or the refrigerator broke. Something major broke, and it takes days for
Oh,
the
beyond
rental company to
days.
come out.
Beyond
So
days.
it's infuriating to not have the control to be able to just fix these situations yourself. I
Well, you
mean,
can, but then you're out the money.
well,
If you're
right. So,
renting.
okay, say my fridge goes and I need a new fridge and I'm renting. If I buy a new fridge, I mean, I either have to hold on to the old fridge, put it back in when I leave and take my new fridge,
What a
or
hassle that would be.
yeah, or I'm just out of fridge. So knowing, just knowing in a new house, yes, there is an expense to it, but knowing that you're in charge and you can fix things and you can change things. You want new countertops. You want,
Oh, yeah.
you want to paint that you
You
have
want
that
to drill
ability.
a hole in the side of the room?
You want to knock a wall out
Oh, my God.
in a fit of
yes.
rage.
Well,
So-
and so with my first house, it's only like 1,000 square feet. That's not really big enough for two people to co-occupy, especially when her current place is about 1,000 square feet. So
Right.
we decided
Fine
on
for
a place
one.
that's double that. So a 2,000 square foot home, it's going to be plenty for both of us to move into and really, have enough room for an office, a spare bedroom, workout area,
Right.
all the stuff you need during a pandemic.
Yes, and the interesting thing is that Casey and I will actually be in the same neighborhood, so it's
Oh yeah,
pretty cool in that regard.
you're
As
going to
long
have
as he
the
doesn't,
full recording studio, right?
as long as he doesn't bug me too much, Otherwise, I'll have to use my powers on the HOA to
There,
uh,
there's
force him
another
out.
couple in that neighborhood that I will totally leech onto and make them into our, like, come over and game with us because Michael doesn't want anything to do with us.
But there's a lot of people moving to that neighborhood, so it's interesting to see things. Where Casey and I live now. I don't want to get too specific. I'll be honest. I don't want any of my fans to become stalkers here. But there's a lot of rural on the east side of our main interstate. There's a lot of
Right.
rural, just kind of open land. So it's
And a little
interesting
bit
seeing
north
these.
on both sides. There's
Right.
rural out there, like where I'm at now.
But it's just cool to see it being built up so
Oh, yeah.
much.
I
But
do
move
think
it-
they get hit by tornadoes. Sorry to cut you off. So
Oh, no problem.
only thing we got to worry about.
I was only going to say that, speaking of building in a pandemic, speaking of the pandemic itself,
Yeah.
how you feeling,
So-
Casey?
Well, if you don't cut them out, you may have heard me cough or that my voice is a little bit off from the last couple times you've heard it. I actually wound up going and catching COVID.
And I'm glad you're doing well. I'm going to say that first of all. Glad you told me earlier you're feeling better already. So I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad you didn't have any major complications thus far. But you and I were both racking our brains trying to figure out how the heck did you get it? Because
Honestly, have
you
no
were
idea.
so careful. I would say you were more careful than me.
I mean, I go out and I still go to restaurants and stuff, but we try whenever we go to a restaurant to eat outdoors to.
I would say
socially
that's the big difference between you and I, because you were being more careful in regards to, just making sure you're using hand sanitizer, just I wasn't always the best about keeping 6 feet. I had to remind myself, whereas you seemed really good about that. But I think the only big difference really was that you were going out to eat, whereas I was just doing takeout. And
Right.
it's crazy to think that you could have gotten it just in such an short window. It must have been like a
Well, and
waiter.
here's the other thing is that like I did have a dinner leading up to my symptoms, and it was a family dinner, and we wound up going to a restaurant, and we're
Right.
family. We didn't sit 6 feet apart. We're family. We all been socially distancing and all that fun stuff. The thing that happened though is nobody at the table tested positive. I'm the only one that tested positive.
Right. And you had, and not to say, not to be ageist or anything, but you did have some older members of the family there, right? Who
Exactly.
you would think
With
would have more of a propensity to catch it if anybody was going to.
yeah, they have issues with their health that would cause that kind of thing to happen.
So it's just crazy to me. Like I said, I'm glad you're doing well, but it's crazy to me that you caught it. And then the
It's
other thing
driving
was
me
crazy
nuts
that
that
we had coworkers who were
nobody.
not feeling well, but none of them tested positive. In fact, I was around you
Hmm.
during the potential exposure period,
Yeah, at
and
least
I
5 days
tested
prior to
negative.
that dinner would
It's
have been.
it's crazy. But take us through the process overall of your
So
experience. Obviously, there's everybody's different. Not
everybody's different.
Casey's experience is in no means saying that you should just
Just
throw.
go get sick on purpose, right?
Yeah, definitely
So
not.
it's definitely like bad. I don't want anybody to go through this, but if you do happen to have the mild symptoms and you don't have the bad symptoms, it's all about trying to take care of those bad symptoms. So coughing, the diarrhea, the fatigue, making sure you're getting out of bed and trying to stay a little bit active. My girlfriend, who happened to be exposed because we didn't know what I had, we thought it was bad allergies. She was still able to go work out every day. She was able to.
Not at a gym.
No, she has her garage space that she works out.
Right. I just want to make that clear.
But she was still able to go and do these things that she normally does for her daily routine, even though, we were both sure that we had it. And I didn't know until I went and got tested because it's like, man, this is getting kind of weird. Now I can't smell and I can taste things, but they don't taste the same. But
Right.
it,
I've heard some people
I
say
don't
the
know, it's
taste,
weird.
the lack of taste or lack of smell sticks around for a while even after you test negative. Hopefully that won't be. I've heard it both ways. I have a friend. We have a mutual friend who had it, and he said felt fine when it was gone, and the taste was only gone for like a day.
Yeah, so I
So
never really lost my taste. Like the thing about taste being like 5% smell and then the rest just being sweet, salty, and bitter. Those are your main taste buds, right?
well, that's actually I'm gonna say right now that's
Right.
dispelled. That your taste
What?
buds don't have like a specific taste to them.
Right, but I mean, when I was going
But
through
you're
this,
saying like
it's
the
like
types of taste that like the what do they
that
call
was
that?
what stuck around for me, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember you
The
said that
main
salty
receptors.
did you say salty and sweet were like the two that were like
Those are
still
your most prominent ones that I remember. And then while I was eating things, I ate a blueberry, and it's like, oh wow, I can taste the tanginess of that. And my smell has started coming back. Actually, today I've been smelling more than I have the past couple of days. And
oh
it's
that's
like
nice.
it comes by like through the fog. Like you smell nothing but the smell of sick. I don't know if you remember when you were a kid and you get really sick and your nose is just full of snot and it's just like
Oh yeah.
this
I have
smells
days
like
like that
nothing.
just with my allergies. And that's one of the things that you and I both have pretty bad allergies.
Exactly.
And that's just one of the things that like I always think like when I wake up and I have like a slightly scratchy throat or I got a
Oh
stuffy
god,
nose,
this is
I'm
it.
like, yeah, oh, this is it. I want to ask you,
Yeah.
how do you think you'll feel going forward? Do you think you'll feel like the same, like you want to be just as cautious, or are you thinking, oh well, screw it now, I've already got it, and
Oh
I'm
no,
just
I want to
gonna.
be more cautious until I get vaccinated. I
Are
mean,
you because are you afraid of getting it again?
yeah, I don't want this ever again. This is the worst. It's like absolutely terrible. It's to the point where now I'm like, because I've also had shingles,
Oh,
and then
you had a rough
yeah,
2020.
this is well, 2019 is when the shingles came out. But
I thought my apologies.
I don't know. It's my information to disseminate, so I don't give a shit what's gonna happen. But yeah, no, I'm gonna go for shingles, flu, you name it. If they got a vaccine, I'm going for it.
Love it.
Because this is terrible.
I'm all
not doing
for
this
it.
again.
I'm ready for the vaccine. As soon as they say, "Hey, you can get it," I want to go get it. I will say,
Yeah.
I'll take whatever they can give me, but I really hope I can get the Pfizer.
Do you want it? I was gonna say, do you want to name it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I said, I don't care if Moderna hears this podcast and they want to throw a vaccine my way. I will happily plug the Moderna podcast or the Moderna vaccine.
Yeah, the Bros and Boxers, sponsored by Moderna.
Sponsored by Moderna. I'll get the vaccine
Moderna,
live on the Bros and Boxers podcast.
There we go. Just like all those photos of the of like political figures getting the vaccine, right?
I'll be just like the president, or actually, I guess the president didn't do it on air. Was it the vice president who did it on air?
I don't know who did it on air. I know I've seen some photos circulate though.
A couple did it.
I was gonna say, going back to the whole reading an article headline and just going with it. I did see one that said, what was it, 35,000 vaccine appointments have been made, and that all the ones in our state are maxed out. Nobody can get another vaccine until they.
Well, you know what? I saw one for our county, or well, we're in different counties actually, technically, but our area, they said
your license says you're from that county. You can't get this vaccine.
You can't get this vaccine, but they said they're maxed out, and I'm like, I just want it so badly. I'm at the point where I'm like, I wonder if I can impersonate an elderly person. Oh yeah, I need this vaccine.
I want to tell the company I work for to not let anybody non-essential back in the office, because this, I can't trace it back to anywhere else except for the office. And I don't know that anybody in the office had it, but...
I mean, I would think other people would have gotten sick in the office. So I really don't know. It's you know what? It had to have been like, and I'm not trying to shame you in any way, but it had to have been like you had a waiter or some staff or something who put down, something that wouldn't have been something with like a silverware, like it was washed and then they touched it, and I don't know. It had to have been some crazy transmission vector that were.
Here's the other craziness: is that weekend, the leading up to my symptoms manifesting, we made it a point, because we are working on getting that house, to cut back on going out, because it's expensive to eat out. So we're trying more and more not to go out and eat, and try to eat more meals inside, and it's just it baffles the whole thing together, to the point where now I'm thinking, well, we just had a report that our state now has the new highly infectious variant.
Yep.
Colorado was the first one in the U.S. to get it, and
that we know. Others might have it.
Maybe I got it first.
You're patient zero in Florida for.
Well, and hopefully, patient 0 and 1 here didn't spread to anybody else. And like I said, everybody that I contacted, and I went through the chain, and I said, all right, look, I have a test. It says yes. Go get tested. If you're sick, you're sick. If not, you're good. And nobody came back negative.
Nobody came back positive.
Or positive. Sorry, but
I was like, I came back negative for certain. So I don't know what you're talking about.
But and that's the thing, is that like you barely were in the range of that. So I mean,
I know, but and I didn't really think. I was like, I was just on the cusp. I really don't think it's going to be me. But there were a few that were around you that I was so certain. And and no, I mean, it's just crazy to me.
It's to the point that I contemplate, is this a false positive? Which I know is extremely rare.
It would,
but does happen.
I think it would have to be like they mixed up the sample basically at that point. So that would mean somebody's out there like, oh, I'm negative, and spreading it all around.
she like grazed it with her finger that had another sample on it. I don't know.
I would hope that it wouldn't be that careless, but I don't know. I said, I'm glad you're doing well.
I'm doing better. I'm thinking this week I'll have full smell, and I'll be stuck at work from home until they deem that I'm welcome back.
Well, I'm I'm just glad that we have hope on the horizon with the vaccine. And I hope
Yeah.
that our viewers out there, our listeners,
Stay safe.
yes,
Definitely.
everybody
And
just stay safe and hang tight, basically.
wash your hands.
Wash your hands.
Please.
I feel like a grandma telling you what to do.
Oh, well, I guess before, because I'm looking at the time here, and it's 36 minutes, but
Ooh, we are running up
I,
against it.
I do want to throw it out there. Hand sanitizer of at least, I think they say 60%. I'm going to bump it up. 70% of the alcohol or cleaning agent, nothing less.
If you're not buying Everclear,
If you're
to
not
use as
buying
hand sanitizer.
Everclear,
Shoot, I'll tell you what, you don't buy some of that there Everclear, you're gonna get yourself sick as a dog.
Gonna be like a shiner.
My
Just making
my
her
granny,
own.
she done bathe in that stuff. Nothing grows on her skin. She had a wart once. Shoot, that thing
Doused
done
in
fell
Everclear.
off after her bath.
Well, I think, Casey, I think we're running up out of time here. I do want to
Yeah.
ask our listeners out there, please, if you have anything you want us to talk about, if you're interested in being on the show, somebody you know that you think would be good on the show, send us an email at theboys@brosandboxers.com. Again, send us an email at theboys@brosandboxers.com.
I just want to go ahead and thank you for listening. Remember to smash that enjoyment button, ring the metallic cone, and sign up for the thing that we're doing here. Subscribe, that's it, because it really helps. So whatever platform you're on, please let the platform know that you're enjoying this and that you want to see more of it by doing those things. I don't know that we have the join option on our YouTube channel, but if we ever come up with some sort of like Patreon or like behind the scenes stuff, I'm sure we'll put it on that paywall there.
Definitely.
So thank you.
For now, we just ask you to tune in next week.
I'm Casey.
And I'm Michael.
See you later.